Regular monthly meeting of the Stratford Town Council. I'll call the meeting to order. Welcome everybody, and thanks everybody for coming. I guess we got some bad weather coming tomorrow, so good we're getting this in today. So the first thing I want to do is acknowledge the land upon which we gather is the unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq, and we pay our respects to the Indigenous Mi'kmaq people of this territory, past, present, and future. Declaration of conflict of interest. If anyone has any conflict of interest with any of the items we're going to be discussing here tonight, please so declare now. If not, we'll go to approval of the agenda, and I'll ask for someone to move the, thank you. Any seconder? Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone against? Motion carried. The minutes of our regular monthly council meeting of the 14th of January are in your package, as well as the, I guess we'll approve the first one. We'll approve them separately, I guess, yeah. Okay, any additions, deletions, or changes to the minutes of January 14th? January 14th. Any changes or additions, deletions? Okay, I'll entertain a motion for approval of those minutes. Thank you. Seconder? Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone against? Motion carried. Okay, we now have the public meeting verbatim minutes of 29th of January. And this is special permit use, stacked semi-detached dwelling, 40 and 42 Smallwood Terrace. Eddie, anyone see anything they'd like to see change? Anything missed in there? Anything that's not included? If not, I'll ask for a motion for approval of those minutes. Thank you. All those, seconder? Thank you. Seconder. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carried.
That was a public meeting, yeah. Yeah. With John
Okay.
Davis.
Any business arising from either of those sets of minutes? Anything that anybody wanted to follow up on that we're not going to be discussing here tonight? Okay. If not, I'll ask our CIO, are there any presentations from the floor? No? I'll give my report. And first of all, I'd like to welcome Corporal Weatherby and Operations Sergeant
Travis
Gallant from Queens District. Thank you very much for both of you for attending tonight. I really appreciate you being here. Thanks. And in my report, just a couple of highlights. I wanted to go to each first meeting of the new committees, and I think I made it to every one, I think. If not, let me know. But I tried to get to every meeting to welcome everyone, all the new members, and thank them for putting their names forward. It's a big commitment for volunteers to take the time to step up and help the town, help us with our decision making, and do all the analysis and all the good work that committees do. So I just wanted to personally attend and thank them in person. Winterfest, that was great at the gym there. It was there, and the whole, I guess pretty well this whole building was used for Winterfest. It was great. Yeah, I was down on Sunday afternoon, and looked like a pretty good crowd. Looked like everyone was really enjoying themselves, and hopefully the ticket sales went well, and that they did really well. We had a meeting with along with the CAO, and I think Jeremy Pierce, were you there as well at the? Yeah, you were there at the meeting with the MLAs. Yeah, Burridge and Redmond, and just some of the things we talked about at that meeting. We talked about the new revenue sharing agreement. We talked about the Community Campus Wellness Center update, and especially around the funding commitments. Transit update. We talked about coordinating our transit system with the rural transit system, as well as a need for buses that run within Stratford. And discussions about some possibility of government, provincial government facilities here in Stratford. We're hoping for a seniors facility, childcare facility, or provincially run office space. We discussed further the town of Stratford High School and specifically the land that's required for that property, and we're, I think, in the final stages of looking at that. Are we? That's the junior high, yeah, sorry, yeah. And we also discussed the E-Watch program and next steps, and then just a couple of other things. A property that is within the town where the landowner wants to make it available to us for sale. We discussed that a bit too, because the province is already also involved. Yeah.
Any date, your worship, on junior high school? There's a date, a start date?
I'm not sure if the
Ask it too early, but maybe.
I'm not sure if the design has started yet on that or not, but still in the planning stages. But there is a commitment there to do it. They're looking for land, and we hopefully will be transferring the land in the near future.
Yeah.
Just a question on that. Has it been in the capital budget for the province?
Yeah.
It was? Okay, I couldn't recall if it was in.
What do you mean, the land purchase?
No, like the commitment to build the
Oh,
junior
yes,
high.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, if I may, the commitment was there with no timetable on it, but just within that 5-year budget. I think that was all we got so far.
I think it's year 3 or 4, isn't it?
Okay.
Yeah, something like that, yeah. Okay, couple of other things. I was very honored to attend 3 Lunar New Year events, 2 hosted by the Chinese community and 1 hosted by the Vietnamese community, and it's a really big, probably the biggest holiday of the year for those communities, and we had an opportunity there to provide some information about the new community campus and the opportunity to invest in that campus and in our future. Yeah, Stratford hosted World Religion Day, and there was quite a number of people here for that in the Emergency Services Building. It's always the 3rd Sunday of January. In the Greater Charlottetown and area Business Awards dinner. 2 Stratford businesses received awards, Leading Edge Homes and Just Joe's.
Yeah.
So really happy to see those businesses get recognition. Those businesses get recognition for all the good work they do.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's this is Black History Month, and we participated in a flag-raising ceremony along with staff and several councilors to recognize the achievements and contributions of the Black community. And I think that's important. The whole month of February is Black History Month, and with all the adversity and difficulties that the Black communities encountered, they've still contributed immeasurably to the society in general and to our community. So we're appreciative of that. Yeah, I had an opportunity also to speak to provide information about the community campus, and basically we want to know what's going on in Stratford at a breakfast club meeting of the Charlottetown Rotary Club, and that was got a lot of good feedback on that. That it was something they really appreciated. I think a lot of people, especially business people, they don't realize. Again, I had the opportunity to provide information about the opportunity to invest in the community campus and the benefits that would bring not only to our town but also to the region and to the island. That's my report. Anybody have any questions or comments with regard to my report?
Any citizens of Stratford at the Rotary Breakfast Club meeting? Did you?
Oh yeah, former councillor and former senator Diane Griffin, and former councillor here Emile Gallant.
Okay.
And former member of our planning committee, Rob DeBlois. Yeah, there were a number of a few people there. Yeah, it's a fairly large group. There are about probably 50 or so, something like that. Yeah.
And during that presentation to the Rotary Club, did you have an opportunity to discuss any potential fundraising?
Yeah, that's what I meant by the opportunity to invest in the community campus.
Okay, that's great.
That's another way of saying
You're just
fundraising.
a little more elegantly
yeah,
said,
yeah.
I guess, than me.
We see it as an opportunity, and we see it as an investment that if people contribute to this is an investment in our future and our youth, and something that will help everybody in the town if if we achieve our fundraising goals. So any other comments or questions? If not, we'll move on to the Chief Administrative Officer Crosby's report.
Thank you, Worship and Council. Just a few highlights. My report is in your package, and I'm willing to answer any questions. Attended several budget meetings with senior staff and to discuss the town operating, utility, and capital budgets. Attended a meeting with the Deputy CAO to discuss potential funding contributions from the business group for the community campus. Attended a meeting with the CAOs of Charlottetown and Cornwall and the transit provider to discuss potential changes to the transit agreement. We're heading into negotiations on that agreement now. As the mayor indicated, I also attended the annual Charlottetown Area Chamber of Commerce President's Excellence Awards, and it was really great to see 2 Stratford businesses get the awards, so my congratulations go out to Just Joe's and Leading Edge Group, both great businesses. Attended a meeting with a company looking to expand their business into the 3rd phase of the business park. Attended a meeting with the Deputy CEO and representatives from the federal government to discuss our funding application for the health and wellness facility. Good discussion with them, and that was also brought up in a couple other occasions at meetings I attended. And attended a meeting with the Director of Operations with the Gray Group to discuss the upcoming projects and developments they have for 2025 and 26. Try to keep in close contact with those folks. And finally, I met with the Director of Finance to discuss the project, or the progress of the town budget, and things are progressing along well, and I think we have a couple more meetings with council and hopefully be able to finalize that soon. So willing to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We'll now move on to safety services. I'll ask the chair of that committee, Councillor Ron Dowling, to give his report.
Thank you, Your Worship. Safety Services Committee did meet on January 20th, 2025. The unapproved minutes have been circulated to Council. I'll open the floor to any questions in relation to those minutes. And one item I will touch on is there was a complaint in relation from a bus driver in relation to bus safety concerns, and the town had forwarded that to RCMP, and I believe Corporal Weatherby will speak to that later during his report. We got an excellent response from the RCMP in relation to that complaint. And also another item under street lighting was brought up during the meeting, one in relation to Brown's Drive, a resident complained about lighting, and last fall we received one as well from Irving Avenue from residents. And I'll just jump ahead on the street lighting report and say that those lights have been installed in those 2 areas. So it's a great response from our staff in relation to those residents' concerns. So any questions in relation to the minutes that have been circulated, I'll be happy to address them.
Just in terms of just that. I'll let
Gordy.
you go ahead, Councillor Cox.
Who's a new guy?
Yeah.
I just want to say, some of the residents, especially on properties adjacent to Aintree Drive, I brought it up and asked possibility of maybe getting a light in the very corner there. It was very dark and dangerous, because if you're going on Aintree Drive, you might think that the new subdivision, the Garden Home subdivision, was actually, you can go straight there rather than turning to your right on Aintree to on to Campbell Drive and then on to, either Lamb or my street. So, it probably 2 weeks after it brought it up, there's now a light there in that corner, and we're very happy to see support from staff and Jeremy Crosby, especially too, and I talked to Jeannie about this too, so it's a team effort, and Yeah, it's really great. It looks really good there. It's a very safe place now, and I just want to thank you for your support of that, and worked it well.
Thank you. Councillor McDonald?
It may be either Corporal Weatherby or Councillor Dowling, but I see, I saw in the news, I think, about the passage of some regulation, something to that effect, for the installation of cameras on school buses. Had that been discussed, safety services or anything about that?
It had been discussed, just in general principle, actually, before that article came out in the CBC. And the committee itself was discussing the viability of cameras, in part in relation to the complaint that we received. And of course, it's a provincial issue. But just after, a couple of days after that meeting, then the article came out in CBC where they were reinstituting cameras on buses. I understand they used to have them, and they were having some difficulties with them as far as gathering grime and stuff on the camera lenses and not being able to see. So I don't know whether they've new technology or different positioning, but I understand the province is going to begin to implement cameras on buses again.
On Councillor Dowling, but E-Watch there, we had a great meeting on E-Watch. We're just back up and not back up and running, that's an excuse pun, but we're just starting to roll out the program itself. We met with Wendy and Jeremy and yourself, and so we're just getting the program. I guess going to have it up in April 1st. We're looking for new clients there. We're trying to get the business community involved there. So, like, and hopefully have the province on board too. Councillor McDonald in that area of the school, and with the buses with the cameras and the police there, and with the E-Watch cameras, you know, it's going to be great up. Like, hopefully that'll stop it, you know what I mean, and drive vehicles past the school buses there.
Yeah, you're right, and it's great to see that project continuing on throughout other areas of Stratford, at least within our main intersections throughout the town.
Yep.
So, yeah, we'll stay tuned on that, and hopefully the business community will have a large uptake from the business community and assistance in the province, and finish off that project in relatively short term.
Yep.
Okay, any other questions in relation to the minutes?
And sorry, Jeannie was there too. Sorry, Jeannie. Yeah, no, it's great. It's just Wendy will have the communications, everything will roll out April 1st, so we'll be able to talk to the business community on our webpage and so on. There'll be some door knocks.
Yeah. Okay, next item, Your Worship, 9B, streetlight report. I essentially gave that. We have Aintree, Irving, and Browns that have been completed. And I know staff, certainly respond to residents' complaints. They'll go out and have a look and make a determination as to whether there is a significant issue. We can't have a street light everywhere and light up every area of the town, of course, but oftentimes we'll have areas where it is very feasible and necessary to put a street light in that had been missed. And, either coming from staff or residents, those are looked after by staff. So next, RCMP report that has been circulated as well, Your Worship. If there's any questions, I know Corporal Weatherby is with us this evening. We appreciate your time, Corporal. If there's anything you want to go over in relation to that initial report or the more comprehensive report following?
If I could, just one question. Just with regard to the two incidents under the Dog Act, it's been a while since we've had any complaints like that. Is there any more information you could provide about that, or is that like it's to me we've had dangerous dog situations, and they're really difficult to deal with for the town. I just wondered if this one is straightforward, or if it's something that can be dealt with, or it's going to be a long road with this one.
Yeah, basically right now it's going to animal control, like with this situation. But you're right, it's kind of a balancing act with RCMP and between the animal control as well on the island. They seem to be, they're taking the lead on this right now.
Okay.
So we'll let them go through their channels, and if they need any further assistance from us, then they'll consult with us as well, so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions for Corporal Weatherby?
I'll just comment quickly, Your Worship, on they responded to 14 motor vehicle collisions, 8 with reportable damage, and 190 traffic-related offenses, 5 of which were impaired. And I noticed that 34 came from the selective traffic enforcement program, so other officers coming from the region into Stratford with a particular focus on certain areas. But is there anything you want to highlight, Corporal Weatherby?
Well, we still continue with the RCMP in Stratford to, you know, we have had 328 occurrences through January, and we're still like high, and 61% is all traffic related. Our big priority is on highway safety, so we continue to do that. We did 36 of those selective traffic enforcement program files, 11 of them being right in the school zone, and specifically Glen Stewart Drive. So we're really putting some focus onto the school zones and that, and working well too with the staff at the school and the principals. Just, you know, it's they appreciate seeing us there as well as the bus drivers, being there, especially during the busy time of day too, in the mornings and afternoons. So we continue to do that and focus on that. Like for the month of January there, I believe it was, we had 41 summary offense tickets issued, 100 warning violation tickets. So, so the enforcement side of things is still going fairly steady with the members in Stratford, along with the provincial traffic section who assisted too as well to enforce the Highway Traffic Act. They still continue to come out with us and, you know, spend some time in through the day within the town, and which is very appreciative. We're very appreciative to help us out with that as well.
And many other occurrences in relation to criminal code matters as well. And I know your enforcement efforts are in response to essentially complaints from the public, either directly to yourself or through the town in many instances. And I think in general, people are slowing down, and that's the whole purpose of intensive enforcement, is to make people aware, make them cautious and slow them down. And I know when I drive in around town, I'm always watching my speedometer, because I know yous are out there working hard to slow people down. Is there anything else you'd like to highlight, Corporal Weatherby?
I guess in relation to there's just a complaint in through the town regarding school buses within the town of Stratford, and passing school buses when there's stop signs out. When we reviewed the statistics for this whole school year from 2024 to just 5-6 days ago, we had, I think there was 5 occurrences that were school bus related specifically. 2 of those actually were of the same occurrence, so really there was 4. There was, I believe, 1 charged, 1 driving review sent, and that. So we've been in communication with the person who, with the individual who forwarded their concerns to the town.
Yeah.
So I guess the main concern, there was also, like, there was somewhat of a report that it was on a daily occurrence. We're not getting those reports. If that's happening, we're not getting those. The individual, it wasn't just about school buses. After I've had a conversation, it was in the course of his duty seeing you know, other infractions like cell phone use, things like that. That's, you know, that's why we're out there, is trying to continue with the enforcement side of things. But I don't see it as a overall, major problem in Stratford. We definitely take it, we have zero tolerance with that. Our issue comes down to, like what we talked about, or what was spoken about with the cameras on the buses, would really assist us, because on some of the files that we have on these where it's insufficient evidence, if we don't intercept that vehicle or obtain, or if there's not a license plate obtained, it's really hard to track down the registered owner, to find out who the driver was. So that's kind of the issue we run into at times. You know, sometimes we would luck out and we're able to intercept that vehicle where there's continuity of that vehicle or when it happened. But sometimes that's where the insufficient evidence comes. Like if there's not a plate obtained and it's just a general description of a car, there could be 20 of them on the road at the time, so it's just hard to come full circle to that driver.
So I would think that most bus drivers, or pretty well all of them probably, if it occurs, they would be reporting it to the RCMP immediately, right?
Yeah, I believe that's their policy, is they report it to the school branch, or if not, to the RCMP directly, just so there's not a major time delay.
Yeah.
But that's what should be, what should be happening. It should be a report to the school branch at the very minimum, and then they send over the incident report.
Yeah,
That might, oh, sorry.
Sorry, I can just to confirm that, I can advise that the policy is that upon any type of incident such as crossing over, like when the bus lights are flashing or the signs extended, they're to immediately prepare a report and send it in. And as Corporal Weatherby said, my experience is that that's done invariably every time.
Yeah, so you can be pretty confident that there were only 4 occurrences over the past year.
I would be.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, based on our statistics and what their mandate is, I would, and after the review, first initial review of it was 5, but we looked at it was two independent complaints on the same incident, so
Yeah.
it was really 4.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good to hear. And the ones that were reported were followed up. So I think we're in pretty good shape with regard to school bus safety with the number of stops and the number of buses that are on the road in Stratford. That's probably an exception rather than the rule, that people are not stopping for the flashing lights. Yeah.
and I would have to say, like, one's too many, due to the seriousness and the safety concern for children. So it's taken very seriously by the RCMP with anything passing school buses when the stop sign's out.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much for that. Yeah. Thanks for bringing your operations manager, Sergeant
I'll
Gallant.
introduce Sergeant Travis Glantz, the new operations sergeant for Queens District. He just started 2 weeks ago, Travis, 3?
Yeah, 2-3 weeks ago now.
Yeah. Travis has an extensive policing, frontline policing background, and worked in Nova Scotia, worked up in Northwest Territories, and he's originally from PEI there, so
Yeah.
been on the island 4 years.
Yeah, 4 years ago.
Got to trust those glance.
Well, welcome.
There's so many of us that.
So, that's right.
Eye amongst each other.
Well, welcome, and thanks very much for everything you do. Appreciate it.
I have a question, Corporal. Dave just done the numbers. I know went up 70 occurrences since this time last year, and we hired an extra member. We're 7 members now, and do you get a lot of complaints over the counter, the front counter? Like what's your MV, your accident reports now under 2,000, 5,000, or?
Non-reportable would be under 2,000.
Okay.
And then reportables over 2,000.
Do you get a lot at the front counter? I know the RCMP was.
We get
that
quite a
new-
few in Stratford.
Yeah.
That just walk in, prefer to just walk into the office instead of phoning the dispatch and doing that. That just like to do it face to face and create the complaint, and that immediately gets assigned by our detachment assistant to whoever's working that day.
Yeah.
It's not held for a specific member, but it's whoever's basically working.
Yeah.
One of the 2 that would be working over there that day.
Oh, great. It keeps the members on the road, like, you know, if some of the front desk can look after those complaints, right?
Yeah, and if the complainant or resident, if it's nothing that's urgent that needs a statement right away, they just provide the information to the detachment assistant, and then it gets signed out, and then just follow up after the fact.
Yep.
So if members are tied up or busy with other calls, then it's just, it's downloaded and to be followed up that day.
That's great, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Corporal.
Just to follow up, one thing that's been raised here before, and that is the space that you're occupying in the emergency services building. Is that satisfactory now that you have the extra officer? I know that it's been raised that you were kind of tight there before. Is that still working out okay?
It's manageable. It's starting to get a little cramped into the extra bodies, and we're trying to figure out some lockers and things where there was only a certain amount of lockers that were assigned in the original. So there's a little bit of shuffling around that we're doing inside there, so we're looking at.
Yeah.
And I believe Staff Sergeant Doyle has been in communications as well with CAO Crosby and with the town there, so.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we can figure out a solution, so if we do add another officer at some point, that we'll be able to accommodate them. Yeah. Thank you. And thanks for everything you do. Appreciate it.
Your worship.
Thank you. Thanks, Corporal.
Any other questions for Corporal Weatherby or myself?
Can you hear me if I ask you a question?
Yeah.
I just got, for Weatherby, just want to ask a question. Over here, I went to a presentation in Fredericton on it's called the 12 Communities, and it's a really good program that they have over here, and it's the 12 Neighbors Community, and one of the presenters said that over 50% of the crimes that take place in Fredericton are done by 50 or less individuals, repeat individuals. Would that same sort of thing be the case in Stratford, would you say?
Well, Councillor Cox, I wouldn't have the specific numbers on a breakdown of offenders. It's definitely something we could look into. Seeing a lot of our percentages of our complaints are generated on the traffic-related side as well. But to say the exact figure, I would have to look at one of our criminal analysts to look into that, to try to break that down.
Yeah,
like,
to clarify, I guess what they were talking about was like break-and-enters, petty thefts, non-highway incidents, like more deal with stealing and and those kind of charges. So, but I just thought it's an interesting point. I was kind of surprised by that point that the person made. But I was just curious if that's sort of, a lot of communities kind of find that.
Yeah, I would say, Councillor Cox, that there are individuals or clients, I would say, that we would deal with multiple times. It may not be on a daily basis or sometimes monthly basis, but I would have to look at one of our criminal analysts to run through that.
Yeah, listen, it's not that important. Don't go to any work. I just throw it in there just to see what your thoughts were on. That's all good. I appreciate your input. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions for Corporal Weatherby?
Yep. Thank you, Corporal.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
And only one other thing to add, I know I spoke to a few people individually and whatnot, but I accepted a position just over at headquarters in starting March 3rd under the federal section. Corporal Matt Painter has been selected through Staff Sergeant Doyle and Sergeant Gallant there to as my replacement as the corporal over in Stratford. And I'll be bringing Matt to the Safety Services meeting next week just to introduce him as well. And I've known Matt for a long time, and he's very diligent and has quite a bit of frontline policing background. And so March 3rd is basically my start date for working in headquarters. But it's been great working for the town, and really enjoyed it.
Well, we're sorry to lose you, but I really want to thank you for everything you've done for Stratford. Again, congratulations. It's good to see good people get ahead, so.
No,
Yeah, thanks for everything you've done for our town.
Thank you.
I'd like to congratulate you too, Corporal Weatherby. I mean, it was hands-on, phone calls and return phone calls, and you're part of the community, and it's really a pleasure working with you the last couple of years. We'll probably run each other again, but you did a terrific job, and you went beyond, like some of the stuff that, for investigations, because you cared for the community. I noticed that you went beyond that extra, and your days off too, and everything else, and phone calls and everything else, so I want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. And Corporal Weatherby, I just want to add to that, I want to echo those comments, and you have been so accessible. And I think you really worked hard to increase the profile of the RCMP, but like their accessibility and presence within the community, to be engaged among the school kids and all that sort of stuff. So I think that we'll reap the benefits of what you and your team have done going forward for a long time.
Thank you.
Okay, Your Worship, item 9D, the Humane Society report. Sorry?
Just also wanted to mention from the staff level that working with Corporal Weatherby has been very simple and easy. Anytime we did have a request, he's responded quickly and very community-minded, and we're looking forward to continuing our relationship with the RCMP, and hopefully the new corporal will follow in his footsteps. But he also indicated that if there's ever anything we needed, that he's still accessible and available, and we really appreciate that. I know you guys all thanked him, but he's been a real pleasure to work with over the years. So
That's great.
If I may, Your Worship, I want to thank you too, Corporal Weatherby, through my time on safety services, but just let your congratulations on the promotion or the new job. It's well deserved, and let the next person know it's big shoes to fill. Like, you were great to all of us. The silly questions and the silly wild goose chases that I know that I led John on a couple times, but yeah, thanks a lot. Really do appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thanks, David.
Yeah. Thanks, Corporal.
Thanks a lot.
Your Worship, Humane Society report has been circulated. This is almost, well, I guess it is essentially a year's summary from April 1st, 2024 to date in March. A total of 309 occurrences, 189 of which were community patrols. And the other stats are there if anyone has any questions in relation to those. They're largely reactive, although they, during their patrols, they do keep an eye out for stray animals, but by and large, if residents have issues with stray animals, they can call the Humane Society and they'll react to that complaint. Next, being no questions, the fire company report is there as well. Stats for December and January with a total of 32 call-outs. We did have I attended a fire company board meeting this past Monday, and I know, they're still working and exploring ways to be able to finance a new ladder truck, which will be needed within the next couple of years. So they're exploring options in relation to new and used as well. And for used, of course, they're within certain parameters years-wise, age-wise, and mileage and such. Hours of operation, I guess they term it. And they are continuing to work and correspond with the province. And I know as a town, we're watching to see how that unfolds as well. And anything that we can do to assist them in that regard in relation to procurement, et cetera. But if there's any questions in relation to the fire company report, we'll address them.
just a
comment. That's one of the things we discussed with the MLAs as well, was the need, the rapid escalation and how much it costs for fire protection, and the costs, you know, naturally go up because of inflation, but also the need for replacement of the ladder truck, and they've undertaken to see what the province could do as well.
Yeah, yeah, and it's something, you know, that will be even, you know, more at the forefront from a ladder truck perspective specifically as anticipated growth within the community occurs and we start getting buildings that are much higher than what we have now, and it will become an absolute necessity. And so, you know, the company's working very hard to try to secure that, and it's always at the forefront of their mind as to how that can come about. And otherwise, you know, we're very fortunate to have a volunteer fire department. When you look at, Councillor Glant has seen it as well as I have at, you know, 4 in the morning when they're attending a fire and covered in ice and, you know, 20 below. And we're in a very hot day during the summer in full gear. It's not always a pleasant task that they undertake, but they're always at the ready, you know, anytime during the day or night to respond and offer protection to our citizens. So we're very fortunate for that very committed component of our community as volunteers.
Yes, Ronnie, I concur with that too, and that we have to support the fire department, their volunteers, and they need the equipment. And with Councillor McDonald probably attest to this, just with the shortage of homes and so on, they're going to be going up levels, like with the 2 or 3, I think. And Fire Marshal Dave Ross are quoted saying that you need like a ladder truck with 3-story buildings. So. Yeah, in all areas. So with the building going on in Stratford now, with the Jackson building over there with 260 units going up each, how many? 8? 8 floors? I'm not sure. Okay.
It's probably 5 or 6.
Yeah, 5 or
know
6.
that,
I mean, we should be you know, ready for that, right? So that's where we're at. And I know what the mayor's saying, working with the province, and because we do other areas, Alexander and Burnham River and so on. So hopefully we'll get this together, right?
Yeah.
If I may, I was doing some research on my day job today on PEI fire companies, and just noticed Summerside's ladder truck is a 2002. So I'm not sure, I know there was concerns, Jeremy's out of the room, but around insurance, once you get to a certain number of years, so maybe they're kind of in that place now too, but I'm just interested as to whether the fire companies talk to Summerside just about how they're dealing with that. I think it's 25 years. 20 to 25 years, that's they become a different kind of an insurance bracket, but you know, especially with the growth. I mean, Summerside's growing faster than we are, so it'd be nice if they kind of chatted with them about that.
Yeah, I'll mention that. And I understand there is a certification period in relation to all types of fire vehicles. And it doesn't necessarily mean that at the end of that certification that the vehicle is obsolete or defunct. They can continue to use it. Maintenance becomes a key issue, and in order to maintain insurance, as I understand it, they have to have a specific regimen of maintenance, which, you know, gets quite costly in and of itself. And reliability then becomes an issue as the vehicle gets more and more hours on it. So you know, it's always good to have a turnover, and a lot of times the smaller communities will purchase vehicles beyond the certification date, and you know, it works for them. And I guess, you know, from a community perspective, we want to have as top-notch of equipment as we can, and as Councillor Glant aptly noted, you know, we have a volunteer force who work very hard, and we want to ensure that they have the top-of-the-line equipment in order to be able to do all that they do on behalf of the residents. So it's not, we're not in a perilous situation in relation to the certification date, but it is a clear indicator that it's time for replacement. But I will mention the Summerside, and I don't know there's any such thing as better rates for multiple purchases unless maybe you're buying new. But I guess from what I understand as well, new equipment is very hard to come by. They're 4 to 6 years out on new equipment. And that's largely based on the fact that a lot of the new equipment comes from the States. And LA has been putting in procurement orders hand over fist, so they're multiple years behind. So even if we had the money to be able to say, here, go buy one, you're still looking at 4, 5, 6 years out. Okay, if there's no further questions, Your Worship, that will conclude my report for this month.
Well, thank you very much, Councillor. Okay, we'll now move on to recreation, culture, and events. I'll ask Councillor Gordy Cox to give his report.
Thank you, Mayor. The following is an overview of projects and items we worked on within the Recreation, Culture, and Events Department. The newly formed committee, the Recreation, Culture, and Events newly formed committee, met the first time on Thursday, January 23rd. Agenda topics included program updates, and that was on recreation, arts, culture, and youth center. Updates on the Stratford community campus. Initial discussion on the recreation, culture, and events department. The waterfront park, Ham Day, and other events, and winter program. Stratford Youth Center and Council. The Youth Center has over 50 youth volunteers signed up to help out with Winterfest events on the over the next 2 weeks. Fun fair and flea market is part of that. The YC Leadership Club will be hosting 2 full days of flea markets for Winterfest, Saturday, February 15th, and Sunday, February 16th at the town center. The public can rent a table for $10 per table per day, and admission is only $2 per person. This is a fundraiser for Summer Youth Center Leadership Trips. The Youth Center will be hosting their annual walkathon event on March 7th and 8th. So Stevie Glenn, go get a new pair of sneakers. They have already started collecting donations. The Youth Center will be entering 3 teams into the Bowl for Kids that takes place in March. And they have raised $1,000 for that organization. So hats off to them. They always really great to raise money for different events that they're involved in. So hats off to you. Events, Stratford Winterfest is scheduled for February 8th to 16th at Stratford Town Center. A variety of children-oriented events and activities will be offered on February 8th, including the annual fun fair, that's inflatables, face painting, balloon twisting, etc. The family skate is at the Bunbury Rink. Treasure hunt, arts and craft room, costume characters, sensory and reading room, bunny trails, pet ranch, the Music Man, pop-up dance classes, and then Juggler's Buster will be there too. The second weekend of Winterfest serves is Youth Center fundraiser with the highly in-demand 2-day flea market. Under programs, work has started on the spring-summer program schedule. Full detail will be announced in March. Current programs being offered include active aging fitness classes 55 years of age, gardening workshops, Ari's Felt Berry, tropical plant workshop, the art of henna, pickleball, co-ed basketball, co-ed volleyball, pickleball, tennis, and Barrington. They're all part of that. Mural art. Layla and Afton have been awarded the work for the mural art on Cotton Park Farm, Ponside Park, and the waterfront utility building. Work scheduled is to be completed in 2025. They're both very, very talented, and congratulations to them. The Pottery Project. The town has started a new Remembrance Day initiative. The Pottery Project scheduled to launch on February 17th. The poppy project has a goal to develop 4,000 poppies to be knitted, crocheted, or crocheted by residents through weekly workshops. The poppies will then be joined on a large blanket and be displayed at future Remembrance Day events. Gymnasium. New Year's resolutions kicked in with the Stratford Fitness Center seeing 123 guests on a daily basis. The town recreation program is operating at nearly full capacity, resulting in gyms being programmed from open, the minute it opens to the minute it closes on most days. Outdoor rinks, the Bunbury and Pondside rinks have been enjoying consistent cold weather since early January. It's been a noticeable difference from the 2 previous winters. By all counts, all 3 of these rinks, Bunbury and Pondside, are well utilized on a daily basis. If I may have one more thing, I had a really good conversation yesterday with the mayor of Spruce Grove. His name's Stuart Houston, and he let me know that nearby community of Parkland, Alberta, that it has developed what it is. It's over a big warehouse that would be utilized, and they already had 28 outdoor pickleball nets and stations to play outdoor pickleball, and they're putting 14 new pickleball courts in this warehouse. So it's pretty unique to have, shows you that how much pickleball has grown. To have 42 pickleball courts in this area is, I guess, unheard of. So quite an initiative for that town of Parkland. So anyway, I just thought I'd add that and hear a great conversation about that and how pickleball is growing out west also. So anyway, thanks to Jerry Pierce for writing up this report. And is anybody have any questions or comments?
Just a couple of comments, Councillor Cox, in your role as Chair of Recreation. So I understand that recently we've announced, or at least the organization itself has announced a new private pickleball facility that's going to be launching sometime in 2025 here in Stratford. Just following up on your comments there with respect to the growing desire for that sport and that facility. So I understand that's a private enterprise, but are you able to indicate when they might expect to open their doors?
I think Jeremy's getting up.
There he is there, yeah.
I'll let him answer first, and how do you
Yeah.
add something, but
Spring on the ground.
Jeremy's right at the podium.
Optimistically, they're looking for October to be a start point.
Great.
But they do have some contingencies for delays.
Wonderful. Now, not a question, but just a comment, you know, just reflecting on Winterfest that's happening last weekend and this weekend. It just seems like maybe it's just as I'm getting older, time seems to blend, but it goes from, you know, Fall Fest to our Haunted Trail to our Christmas festivities to Winterfest. And it just seems more and more we're having events all the time. And I just want to extend a sincere appreciation to recreational staff for going above and beyond every time. I know the day-to-day demands on recreation staff are a job in and of themselves, and so it's very well recognized and appreciated, certainly by council. I think the efforts that staff go to make sure these events are always successful. And I know I'm not speaking just for myself here, but it really is. These events help make us more of a community every time, so really do appreciate that.
Thanks, I appreciate the comments, but I just want to add on that I know our department does a lot of the planning, but their public works, infrastructure, our communications teams, it's a true team effort.
Yeah,
to get these. There's a lot of work goes on behind the scenes.
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate that comment.
Any further comments or questions or anything?
Councillor Cox, I'd like to comment, same and concur with Jeff, Councillor McDonald, on the Winterfest weekend. It was really good, $12 ticket to get you through the door, and all the events that taking place inside was really good. And hats off to Melanie and Dwayne and the youth center, they had their special canteen there. Hope they raised some money there. It was great to see that, and you know, it was great to see Dwayne and Rachel there putting this stuff together. It's like, I echo with what Jeff was saying and so on. And with the murals coming up in Cotton Park, great ideas there in Pondside and the waterfront building, and it's just it's people. I see people wanting more stuff and being proud of our community right now and want to stay on the side of the bridge and do events. That's what I see, and they want to support Stratford. So, and they talk about all the great things that the town itself is doing, and the management with council and the management staff too, and same with this pickleball group. It's an 8 or 9 indoor facilities coming on the campus. I want to share my Jeremy, the two Jeremys, Jeremy P and Jeremy C, for great work behind the scenes of getting this deal done, and this could have went elsewhere, right? And it came over here, so it's a great work. It's like pickleball is exploding, and 8 and 9 indoor courts, and it's just with everything else on the wellness center and everything else coming on our campus and 2 schools, and you're just bringing everything across our bridge and staying over here, hopefully, and it's to spin out for the business community and the building structures, new homes, and so on. So, and we're providing the amenities for our youth and families and so on. So, I mean, it's a big, with the 2 schools, it's really big for me because my 2 sons went to Charlotte Rural, Stone Park, and it's staying on the side of the bridge, and don't have to get on a bus every day and go across our bridge and everything else. So, but it's just great work all around the table. Staff, I can't, like, the management, the staff, and behind Jeannie and everybody, Dale and everybody else, and Phil and everybody else, is great work behind the scenes. And it's just, this is my 2nd term as council, and you really don't know how far we are moving. We are moving really far. We are growing, we're moving, and I know my 1st term was sort of, the train was just on hold there in the middle of the track, but now, and Steve can see it too, it's just the way things are coming together and getting good response from our MLAs and our member of parliament and so on. But everything's starting to come together, and I don't want to I'm knock on wood, but I mean, everything's just come together and working well, and around the table, everybody's all about Stratford. I just want to echo those things to people who are watching on media there.
Thanks for your comments, Deputy Mayor. Yeah. Just want to mention also that Councillor Cox, Chair of Recreation, he had a lot to do with the pickleball group coming here as well.
Yeah, he did.
He's worked behind the scenes, I know, to get, you know, with some of the people behind that project to help it locate in Stratford. So thanks very much for that, Councillor Cox, as well.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions? If not, we'll thank you for your report, Councillor. We'll move on now to Finance and Technology, and I'll ask the Chair of that committee, Councillor Jody Jackson, to give his report.
Thank you, Worship. The Finance Committee met January 15th. It's our first meeting of our new committee. So we got to know each other, talked a little bit about the expectations and where we are at, starting in the budget process. So looking to discuss that further with our committee at the next meeting. I think we're looking at late February for that meeting. I do have some highlights from the last month from our director and the staff in the finance department. So an overview of the projects and items that are being worked on currently, in addition to the budget, which has been, I know, a lot of work for all staff, and is going well, I think, so far. So utility bills have been issued, and the due date for payment is February 18th, so it's coming a week from yesterday. Letters being sent out to vendors to let them know we are changing to an electronic payment system for payables, which is great. Great to see us move forward with that. The director attended a meeting for potential funding on the community campus and met with provincial representatives on revenue sharing. Department managers met during January to draft the town utility operating and capital budgets, and there's been, like I said, a lot of work gone into that, and we're right on track, I think, for where we thought we would be. Staff within the department are training to learn new positions to cover if staff are out of office. That's important for coverage for to make sure that we're able to keep the services going every day, but it's also good for those staff to be able to learn new skills and maybe grow into other roles in the future. The director met with council to review the draft town operating budget. We're meeting again tomorrow, talk about the capital budget, and we're working hard on that, weather permitting. Hopefully we'll get that meeting in. The director prepared the year-end, and her staff, payroll information for T4s, also submitted an ISIP government claims for funding. That's the Invest in Canada Infrastructure Program, which has been really good to the town. And again, staff busy with day-to-day items in addition to all this budget work. So any questions on the report? Great. Thank you. The town income statement and the utility income statement are in the package. We'll dig into those a little bit more as we continue with the budget, but again, we're in good shape for this year and right on track. So that, without any questions, that is my report, Your Worship.
Thank you. And the town income statement and the utility income statement are in your package
Yes.
as well, eh? Nothing in those that you need to highlight?
No, I think we're right on track with where we thought we would be, and I know staff have been great about making sure there's, you know, we're keeping an eye on the end of the year numbers that we projected last year. We had asked residents for an increase and put that in place and to set some money aside for the campus, and I know we're right on track with that. So more to come, and I think we're going to have the pre-budget meetings first of May for residents to come out.
1st of March, you mean?
1st of March, sorry, not 1st of May, which in time way. Yeah, so there'll be another chance for residents to have their say in some of the priorities going forward at that time.
I want to thank you and the finance staff for all the work that's being done and has been done to date on the budget, the operating and capital. It's a big job, and just want you to know that we really appreciate all the work that you do. Thank you. Any other, that's your report? Okay,
No,
thank you
that's
very
it.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll now move on to Planning, Development, and Heritage. I'll ask Councillor Jeff McDonald to give his report.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. The unapproved minutes are found in your agenda package. Just want to extend a sincere appreciation to new Vice Chair of Planning, Mr. Ron Dowling, who was able to very capably and smoothly slide into chairing that meeting for me as I had to attend to something about 2/3 of the way through. So I do appreciate that, Councillor Dowling, for that and your capable stewardship of that meeting. The building summary for 2024 is in your package as well. Some highlights certainly are the fact that we had $71 million, give or take, of development within the town. I think I didn't do this math because I wouldn't do it justice, but when you look, I think, at the per capita development dollars that came into the town in 2024 versus some of the larger municipalities in this province, we punched well above our weight, and I fully expect we will continue to do so. As Deputy Mayor Gallant noted, certainly the train's out of the station, and we're doing everything we can within planning to keep ahead of that and to keep abreast of all of the development within town, making sure it's done in a sustainable and manageable fashion. That's notwithstanding, or maybe in light of the fact, I should say, that we are also concurrently, as a town, going through our usual exercise of reviewing our official plan and updating that to be more reflective of this town's needs and desires as a community. And that's certainly ongoing, and we look forward to doing that together, as well as having the valuable input of our community partners as well as our citizens. So in terms of development, it was a great year in 2024, as can be seen. We expect a great year here as well. We do have a changing, I think, development landscape in terms of the additions that we made in 2024 to some of our uses within the town. And to that end, I'm going to direct you now to 12C in your agenda package, which is Resolution PH 001-2025. which is JDLB Holdings, which is a special permit use for stacked semi-detached dwellings at 40 and 42 Smallwood Terrace, being PID 1178060. I do have this resolution, and I will be moving it, but I'll make a more formal motion at the end of this. I'll read in the particulars of the resolution. They're as follows. Whereas an application has been received from John Davidson, who's owner of JDLB Holdings, to construct a stacked semi-detached dwelling at 40 and 42 Smallwood Terrace, PID 1178060, within the medium-density residential zone. Stacked semi-detached dwellings are listed as a special permit use as per the recently adopted zoning bylaw amendment number 45Q. And whereas pursuant to sections 8.16.1 sub D and sub E in the zoning and development bylaw number 45, council shall ensure that property owners within 61 meters or 200 feet of the subject property are notified in writing and asked to provide their comments, and ensure that a public meeting be held to allow residents to provide their input before making a decision. Whereas a public meeting was held on January 29th, 2025 at 7 p.m. with 5 residents in attendance. This public meeting was live streamed on the town's Facebook and YouTube pages, and residents were given until 12 p.m. noon on January the 31st, 2025 to submit their comments. Whereas planning staff received verbal comments from 1 resident and no written comments. Be it resolved, therefore, that council shall grant approval to the special permit application DP 167-24 from JDLB Holdings to construct a 4-unit stacked semi-detached dwelling located at 40 and 42 Smallwood Terrace, PID 1178060, subject to the following. 1, a detailed site plan with proposed drainage showing the information required under section 7.3.5 of the zoning bylaw. 2, a detailed servicing plan must be submitted for approval to the Stratford Utility Corporation. 3, prior to the issuance of an occupancy permit for the new dwelling, a final grading plan must be submitted and approved by the town of Stratford. And 4, all other relevant provisions of the town of Stratford zoning and development bylaw number 45 are met. This resolution bears the recommendation of the Planning and Heritage Committee as discussed at a meeting held on February 3rd, 2025. And as I noted, it's moved by myself as Chair, Planning and Development.
Do I have a seconder? Thank you. Okay, discussion.
Mr. Ruff's here as our town planner. You are somewhat familiar with this council, seeing it at the first resolution calling for the public meeting. I might ask that the drawing schematic be shown to you just to get an understanding of exactly what this looks like. So might be somewhat difficult to see from the survey, but essentially this is a corner lot that goes around a curve on Smallwood Terrace, which makes it somewhat of a unique property. And what you'll see is that essentially to the north and east are the 2 driveways for the development in question, with the stacked townhouse sitting back from the corner of the property, though still keeping in line with the required setbacks on the rear and side lots, or yards, I should say. So I think in general, what the comments were from planning staff and our planning committee were, I think there was as good of a job as possible done to take into account the requirements for the parking, which are 2 parking spaces per unit. And the unique nature of this corner lot was such that they were able to really add in those 2 separate parking or driveways to account for that. So I think in general, it was very well considered as to the layout. Now, this began development as a classic 2-unit semi-detached dwelling, but with some changes in our zoning bylaws to allow for instance, stacked townhomes, there was a request put in motion to amend our zoning development bylaw to allow for this type of use, which is similar to a stacked townhome, though somewhat different in terms of the requirements for setbacks, requirements for minimum lot size as well as unit size as well as parking, because it would fit somewhere in between density in terms of a traditional semi-detached and a stacked townhome. And we wanted to make sure that it had its place in the town in the right areas. And that's why, of course, as a council, and I do agree with council's decision that any proposed type of use for this type of dwelling would be subject to special permit use, so we can have a closer look at it to make sure that any type of development such as this fits within the proposed neighborhood for where it might go. Now, in terms of this one, we did receive one verbal comment, and I will indicate that there was a concern from a citizen about the fact that the foundation had already gone in for this development prior to the issuance potentially of any resolution here from this council authorizing this special permit use. And certainly, that's always a concern, but I will note for the record that there was nothing untowards about it, as a foundation permit had already been granted to allow for that foundation. And the view is that that foundation could have been used towards a traditional semi-detached building as well as this proposed 4-unit. So nothing untowards about that, though it is noted and certainly recognized that any time such a development might be viewed as premature in terms of its building, that's going to cause our citizens to have or lose potentially confidence in the planning process, and we never want that to happen, of course. So we certainly appreciate that homeowner reaching out and that resident reaching out with that concern. To that end as well, I will inform council that in line with that, that the proposed development has already also begun some framing with respect to the materials on that site. Again, I did have a conversation with the applicant about this. He indicated that the framing would go irrespective of whether this is a stacked semi-detached or a traditional semi-detached. I indicated to the applicant that that can also cause our community to lose confidence in the planning process. And so it's important that that be adequately communicated, and that's why I'm endeavoring to do that with you here this evening, so you have the full picture. Again, it's absolutely crucial that our citizens, as well as the general public, have confidence in our planning process. I would also indicate that it's our desire as a council to see that any type of development that goes in our town be successful, but it can only be successful if, or truly successful, I should say, if we have buy-in from the public about this. So I do appreciate the member of the public reaching out with their concerns about that. I've been provided assurances that this would have gone one way or another, but they're able to tailor and change that build to suit either use. That being said, I do think this is a good first test case for a stacked semi-detached dwelling. You'll note from a resolution that I'll read in a little bit that we are now having another public meeting to discuss a potential other use in the vicinity of this one. So certainly there is some appeal to this type of development in terms from a development perspective, in terms of the ease of the build, in terms of the return for the developer, but also in terms of a very real return for our community to provide a type of missing middle housing development that will allow for some densification in a fashion that is very attractive from a curb appeal perspective, and that fits with the character of the community that it's going to go into. So I do think that this development, as is, constitutes a successful potential development, and certainly something that we ought to welcome in the right circumstances. Respectfully, I would suggest that in this instance, we do have those right circumstances. So I would urge your adoption of the proposed resolution. Mr. Ruff is here, as I noted, as well as Mr. McKeegan from Planning, and they can certainly answer any questions on a technical basis that you might have.
Any comments or questions?
Just a quick comment. Your Worship, I'll speak in favor of the motion. This is a bit of an innovative design, and as we follow through with our official plan, I think we'll see a lot more opportunities for densification and innovation. And I think the key here from a special use factor is that it is consistent with the character of the neighborhood. And I think the response from the public or lack thereof is a testament to that very situation. If it were a case where, you know, it didn't really fit with other buildings within the neighborhood and the residents were speaking in opposition to it, I might have a different perspective. And I think we have to be mindful of that each and every time that we do entertain a special permit use. But in instances where it fits with the neighborhood, you know, it's a great opportunity to increase densification within the town. So I will be supporting the motion, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other comments or questions?
Please, this is the second time Mr. Davidson, is this the first time Mr. Davidson came forward with semi-detached? Second time, isn't it?
No, well, Sorry, technically, I mean, he came forward with the proposal to amend the zoning development bylaw in the first place to allow
Okay.
for this use.
Yeah.
But this would be the first actual concrete request of council to put in such a development.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree with it, that it's a multi-use, mixed use, I guess, the zoning, right? So it's a,
It's purely residential.
Yeah, purely residential, yeah.
But
So it's-
in terms of the density, I'd say it's
Yeah.
mid density, yeah.
and it's split, and hopefully the rents are gonna be cheaper, a lot lower than other places, so it'll give an opportunity for, our young people to look forward to living in Stratford, so I truly support this idea.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Okay, I'll call for the question. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone against? Aye. Motion carried.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda is 12D, Resolution PH 002-2025, Zoning and Development Bylaw number 45, which is to amend certain sections of our child care bylaw under our Zoning and Development Bylaw. It's moved by myself as Chair of Planning Development Heritage, and it reads as follows. Whereas several text amendments have been identified to bring the Zoning and Development Bylaw number 45 into conformance with the Provincial Early Learning and Child Care Act and associated regulations. The amendments propose to refer to the Provincial Early Learning and Child Care Act and regulations when determining the number of children permitted per child care center to allow for a dynamic bylaw, reducing the need for future amendments. And whereas in accordance with section 3.2.3 of the Zoning and Development Bylaw number 45, notice of the amendments in public meeting occurred through the placement of an advertisement in the local Guardian newspaper on two separate editions, being January the 18th and the 21st. Notification letters were sent to licensed child care center operators within the town, and notice of the public meeting was also posted on the town's Facebook and YouTube page. Whereas a public meeting was held on January 29th, 2025 at 7 p.m. with one child care center operator in attendance. This public meeting was live streamed on the town's Facebook and YouTube, and residents were given until 12 p.m. on January 31st, 2025 to submit their comments. And whereas planning staff received no written comments from residents or child care center operators, be it therefore resolved that bylaw number 45R, a bylaw to amend the town of Stratford zoning and development bylaw number 45, be hereby read and approved a first time. This resolution bears the recommendation of the Planning and Heritage Committee as discussed at a meeting held on February 3rd, 2025.
Do I have a seconder? Thank you. Any discussion?
So if I might, I'm wondering if we could bring up, which is PH 002-2025-2, which is a PowerPoint that had been provided by our planning staff during the public meeting. And I wonder if we could go to slide 5. So, folks, so essentially one of the main thrusts of our bylaw amendment that we're looking to do is to, there's two use cases that we're looking at. Our home-based childcare providers, as well as our licensed centers, which are a little bit obviously more robust and of a different use case. Now, when you look here, and I'm focusing on the home-based childcare center. So the current definition says means any secondary use where the occupant provides care and supervision for up to 8 children as regulated in the Child Care Facilities Act and amendments there too. So these are, our traditional home-based child care centers, which may exist in R1 or R2 or even potentially R3 zones, which is basically a secondary use to being a dwelling. And it's currently limited to 8 children. And under our proposed definition, it still has that limitation of 8 children. Now, I have 2 thoughts about this. The first thought is, of course, that these are secondary uses to residential dwellings. And our focus is, of course, to make sure that residential character is maintained in residential neighborhoods. We don't want anything necessarily of a licensed center in the middle of a residential area without careful planning and consideration. And that's of a view to keeping it to this. That being said, I am very well aware, as I'm sure you are as members of council as well, being residents in the community, that childcare is a desperately required service in our community. Spaces are short and in short supply. It's just something to think about as this is a first reading, and it is certainly something I'm going to be bringing up when it comes back up at planning committee. But my suggestion, and just food for thought and open to discussion at this point in time, is to simply state, to have a family home center, eliminate any language in our bylaw limiting it to 8 children, and making it up to the province to regulate, as it is a provincial regulation. And certainly, if we can go to the next slide. And this deals with our childcare centers. And you'll note here, oh, okay, I guess I'm talking too much. Now, in our current definition, it has a limit there, and in a proposed definition, you'll see that it removes the limit. And this is what I would personally might like to see for our family run centers, is to allow the province to take charge, to really provide that flexibility, so that if the province recognizes that there's a need and it's not going to have any adverse impacts in neighborhoods, something to that effect, that we allow the province to make that decision. Something to think about. There is a tension there, of course, and a balance between maintaining the residential character of neighborhoods with the requirements for childcare spaces. That being said, I'm of the view certainly that nothing screams more residential than children in a neighborhood. So, you know, just something to think about, but I'm open to discussion on that point, as this is only a first reading, and it will be going back to planning committee to incorporate any comments of council and for more discussion on it.
Okay, any comments or questions?
Just for my understanding, I've used both, like my kids have gone to a licensed, a business model and home care. I never even considered as a parent that the child care provider from a home was licensed. I think many people don't. They're just like, they just go to so-and-so's house, they care for kids after school. So is there oversight in place that, like, potentially anyone running a home-based childcare center, or whatever we want to call it, is absolutely licensed by whoever?
They're supposed to.
They're supposed to
When you look
be?
at provincial legislation, I mean, technically, yes, under the law, if you are caring for children for some form of consideration, money.
Yes.
Not just babysitting, but, providing a consistent service where you might provide meals, things of that nature. Yes, you should be regulated and licensed under the provincial legislation. Yeah.
Okay. And then my only question, I guess, in the province would look after, if we did lift that number of 8, that they would be overseeing, that there's the appropriate ratios of caregivers to children, for example. That's all on them.
Absolutely.
And we wouldn't be under any liability whatsoever if we remove that from ours.
I'm 99% sure, Councillor, that there are limits under the provincial act. I'll check and I'll confirm that, and I can bring that back to you to make sure.
Yes.
I appreciate where you're coming from. I want to make sure that we're covered for sure, and not just covered, but also making sure that, under our ambit, which is zoning, to make sure that we're carefully regulating the use of any kind of dwelling or structure in that area that it might go, for sure. But I'll find out and let you know for sure.
Yeah, if I may, just to that point, to Councillor McDonald's suggestion about taking the number out, I think it makes sense. And to Councillor Chandler's point around, the diligence that the province does, there's a early learning childcare board that does look into all these things. And when they make changes to numbers or qualifications or, certification criteria, that's all done to a much greater extent with stakeholders and going through all that. So I have faith that they would take that all into account. I think if you can take the number out rather than having to open this up every time that they may change that, I think it makes more sense. And I think that's the essence of what Councillor McDonald is saying there is someone else is setting the number. We're just trying to be consistent with what that higher authority is setting. So I like the idea of that amendment if it should be tabled.
Any other comments or questions?
Just on the, Jeff, so on the the R1s and R2s and 3s, you're saying eight's a number in a dwelling house. They're looking at
That's our number now.
right now.
Yeah.
And they're looking to increase that number.
I'd have to go back to see exactly what the province allows
Yeah.
right now. I can't tell you for sure if it's actually an increase or if it's just, we're just leaving it up to them. It could increase. It could decrease, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And my concern would be that for some reason, I cannot foresee any situation where this would occur, is that the province somehow decides to restrict
Okay,
it to
yeah.
less than 8,
Yeah.
then we might have a problem there, but
Yeah.
I cannot see
Yeah.
any situation where that might happen.
I know with the federal government there, the $10 a day daycare is terrific. It's fantastic. I know some people qualify and don't qualify, maybe because of training and educational purpose, like the daycare itself.
It depends on where it's at.
Okay.
Right? It's in a licensed center,
Yeah,
you're at that $10 a day.
okay,
In a home-based setting, unfortunately, parents don't get
Yeah.
to take advantage of that.
yeah.
That's not fair, but that's the law.
Well, you think the province be trying to double up with the federal government and get this done and have a center in different towns across the island, you know?
I think, and I will stand up for the province a little bit on that for sure, but I think they realize the priority. Our Minister of Finance realizes the need.
Yeah,
And I think there really is an effort there to try to.
Oh, yes.
expand
Oh,
that
yeah.
But
yeah.
I mean, it's like everything else, Deputy Mayor, it's just many needs and
Yeah.
a few resources, so they've got to try to do what they can and, try to expand that as much as they can with the federal
No.
dollars available to them.
No, it's great with the after-school program here at we stepped up here, the town of Stratford for the program there, and the gymnasiums here.
Yes.
Yeah, we know.
I'm
Yes.
thrilled we were able to.
Yes,
help
yeah,
out.
yep. No, just a few questions, that's all.
Yep.
Okay, any other comment? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'd just like to add one point, just for clarity. If we're moving forward on this and removing the ceiling for how many kids can be involved, are we as a town still going to accept the application and process it and ask for the province to make the determination? Because I'm just looking at this from a compatibility perspective, because if we move on and the province has sole responsibility for the application and the decision, it doesn't give the town much opportunity for input regarding compatibility and safety and that kind of stuff. Just a point of discussion.
Before you leave the podium, Mr. McKeegan, I absolutely think so, because I think we absolutely still need to have some oversight,
Right.
to make sure that use is there, but that's, I think, a good item for discussion, perhaps at planning board, or even at the staff level, to see, is there some way to make sure that we're not getting in the province's way, but also keeping,
Protecting yourselves.
our jurisdiction on
Right.
planning? Yeah, for sure, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm open to your very learned thoughts on
Yeah,
that.
no problem.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay.
Okay, any other comments or questions?
Just wondering, Your Worship, just in light of those comments, whether there could be something along the lines of a special permit use, if it's to be, if all of the categories are in there in relation to compatibility with the neighborhood, and the province says, well, you can have up to 12, I can appreciate that, there's no greater sound in a community than children, but it also could impact a residential area if, by way of traffic and such, if the numbers get too high. So I think we would have to maintain some, and I know Councilor McDonald, you spoke to this to some degree, and it'd be interesting to see what we come up with through staff, but we would have to maintain some capability to put a cap on particular homes within, especially within certain neighborhoods, depending on the character of the neighborhood. Some, it would stand out, a higher volume would stand out much more so than in other neighborhoods, and we don't want to, I'm always thinking that, we're often have things imposed upon us as a community from other orders of government, federal or provincial, and I'm big about maintaining our own autonomy and our own capability to make our planning decisions on any aspect of the community, but I know there's some that we've perhaps lost, we may never get back, but I think it's important that we don't give up any more than we have to, and I wouldn't want, to Mr. McKeegan's point, to have the province make a determination that any particular residents in the community could have any specific number higher than what has traditionally been the case within the community. 'Cause I think the number we have now is fairly well accepted within the community, and we certainly do need the additional spaces. I know the province is working diligently to fund daycares, in particular the larger daycares that can have up to 80 to help perhaps expansion. It's a very market-driven type of a venture, but traditional larger centers can't meet the demand, so we are requiring to have more and more home-based operations, but we just have to walk that fine line as to what's compatible. So I look forward to seeing what staff come up with in order to provide those assurances.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just
Totally
said,
agree,
Council. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess we'll have another look at get input from council and staff on that. There was a public meeting on this, and there was, I think it was only one person attended, and I think their concern was that moving from unlicensed to licensed might reduce the number of childcare spaces that are available in our community if there's a crackdown on unlicensed centers. I know there's advantages to licensing and that sort of thing, but it's also requires, for example, a childcare operator to have a certain certification with regard to early childhood education and that sort of thing. Yeah. So it's a little more difficult, whereas if somebody's already looking after kids and doing a good job, then you'd wonder what the advantages are to making it more difficult for them. But anyway, I'll have an opportunity to input on it as well, so I will provide input.
It's different now, and when I was younger, it's you're paid for baby or daycare, but now with the $10 daycare, I mean, it's so you want to have a qualified, trained person looking after your child.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? With the $10
my
a day.
point is there's still demand for the unlicensed, so I know
Yeah.
Personally a couple that provide good service and good childcare, and they're not licensed. They just can't take the time to take the course.
Be more expensive, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, it'd be more expensive, but there's
Yeah.
still a demand there. It's still
Yeah.
a market demand. You know, if there was enough capacity at the $10 a day, then these people would be out of business. But they're not. They're still operating, and people are still paying the extra money to have them there. So that would be my concern. But we don't want to reduce the number of spaces in our community.
No.
But at the same time, as Councillor McDonald said, we do have to have the oversight and certain criteria met. And I would hope that we do continue to have some say over deciding on what goes where.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, thank you, everybody. I really do appreciate that discussion. I really appreciate the input. So we will go back to staff. We'll go back to planning committee. We'll see what we can come up with. We'll bring it back to council for some more discussion and potential ratification, but do really appreciate everybody's input.
Yeah, so we still got a moved and seconded motion on the floor, and we will vote on first reading, and first reading still allows us to make amendments. The next version will may be different from this version,
Yep.
but it will be amended based on council's comments and other input. So with that, I'll call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against? You abstaining, Councillor? Oh. Oh, you did, okay. Oh, sorry.
I don't know.
Yeah, it was moved by Councillor.
And Councillor Jackson
Yeah,
said,
yeah. And Councillor Cox, you're in favor of this?
He's muted.
We'll count him as abstain. He might have stepped away, yeah. We'll count him as an abstention, which means a yes. Okay, all right. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, yeah, we already voted, I'm sorry.
All good.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Next motion for your consideration, or resolution I should say, is 12E, which is resolution PH 003-2025, street vendors bylaw proposal for a public meeting. And it's moved by myself as Chair of Planning, Development, and Heritage. The resolution reads as follows. Whereas the Town of Stratford Planning Department is proposing a new street vendors bylaw, which would permit the sale of prepared refreshments by the way of a mobile vending unit. And whereas pursuant to the Provincial Planning Act and Section 3 of the Town of Stratford Zoning Development Bylaw number 45, council must hold a public meeting to receive comments from the public on the proposed bylaw. And be it resolved that a public meeting be held on a date and time to be determined by staff and the Planning, Development, and Heritage Committee in order to provide an opportunity for the town to present the proposed new bylaw to residents and to obtain their input. This resolution bears the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole on January 29th, 2025, as well as the recommendation of the Planning, Development, and Heritage Committee on February the 3rd, 2025.
Seconder? Okay, thank you.
So this is for a public meeting to determine our draft street vendors bylaw found in your council package, and as noted in the resolution, considered somewhat in the first instance by our Committee of the Whole, being new legislation, as well as Planning and Development Committee. It's a fairly comprehensive document to date, and I certainly commend our town staff as well as our contractors for the preparation of the draft up until now. But that's all I have to say at this point. Certainly looking for the public's input on that draft at a public meeting that I would certainly hope would be fairly well attended.
Okay, any comments for or against having the public meeting? Okay, I'll call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against? Motion carried.
Thank you. Last resolution for your consideration tonight is resolution, at least in planning, I should say, resolution PH 004-2025 from Concord Properties Limited, considering Kelly Heights Phase 3 PIDs 882084 and 897124. Request for 6 special permit uses, being stacked semi-detached dwellings, which require a public meeting. It's moved by myself as Chair of Planning and Heritage, and it reads as follows. Whereas an application has been received from Concord Properties Limited to revise the 3rd phase of the existing approved subdivision known as Kelly Heights, located on parcel numbers 882084 and 897124, which is approximately 12 acres in total area, into 25 total building lots within the low-density residential R1 and medium-density residential R2 zones. And whereas lots 90, 96, 97, 103, 107, and 108 are being proposed for stacked semi-detached dwellings, which is a special permit use in the R2 zone. Whereas pursuant to sections 8.16.1 sub D and E in the Zoning and Development Bylaw number 45, council shall ensure that property owners within 61 meters of the subject properties are notified in writing and asked to provide their comments, and ensure that a public meeting be held to allow residents to provide their input before making a decision. Be it resolved that a public meeting be held in order to provide an opportunity for the applicant to present the proposed use to residents and obtain their input regarding the special permit use. This resolution was discussed at a Planning, Development, and Heritage Committee meeting held on February 3rd, 2025.
Seconder? Thank you. Any discussion? Any discussion for or against having a public meeting on this issue?
I'll just simply speak in favor of at least a public meeting at this point in time. I'm not saying that this was completely anticipated. That being said, it was certainly something that was at the forefront of planning staff's mind, as well as the planning committee, that when this type of use was inserted into our bylaw, that there'd be some certainly interest in it. As I noted during one of our discussions in one of the prior resolutions, it is an attractive way to increase some density in a way that maintains curb appeal, as well as minimal addition to construction costs. So certainly I do think that what we're seeing here with this proposal is reflective of that appetite for this type of development from a developer's perspective. Whether or not there's an appetite from the community's perspective is why I think we really require a public meeting. And I really hope that this one would be well attended, and I would hope to have a fairly good discussion at a public meeting on. So that's why I'm speaking in favor, at least at the public meeting requirement at this point in time, Your Worship.
Okay, any other argument or discussion about for or against having a public meeting, having this issue go to a public meeting?
No, I guess just a question on the how far the notification zone goes here. Dale, does it go over to?
200 feet.
It's the ribbons, does it go to?
Is there a way we can show it on the map? Is there any way we can do that?
Doesn't matter, right? Like,
Reading this time, no, but there is a radius that goes around the lots to capture what we
okay, so, yeah, the,
Red ones, yeah.
like, the old Swallow area, would it be within that?
The projection around those lots will be different for each one.
Okay.
It's hard to get a uniform radius around the stagger of lots.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it was done according to the rules, or our policy,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we're obligated to follow our policy.
Correct.
Yeah.
No, and I think that's great, and I think it's nice to see something come forward in this area, and have the public be able to look at this and you know, see what can be possible. I know it's not the same area that was discussed before, but it's around there, and I think this is, I'm excited to see what comes out of it, so I'm in support of the public meeting.
Okay. Any other discussion for or against the public meeting?
And just for information purposes, we're going to try to be efficient with the public meeting and try to get 2 items on there, being this one and the previous one for the
Sure.
street vendors.
Yep.
Okay, so we're looking at hopefully sometime early March.
Any other discussion for or against the public meeting? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against? Motion carried. Anything else, Counselor?
Just give me 1 second, Your Worship. No, that's it for me.
Okay.
Subject to any questions or general commentary about planning or anything happening in Ward 2, I'm here.
Okay, thank you. Oh, sorry.
Just one thing, I guess just a question if, and it's maybe for another time, but just on the announcement today around the planning discussions, the province, we were talking about that, you know, it'd be nice if, I know staff are gonna look at it, planning will look at it, but if an update can come to COW, when ready, just to get an essence of what, you know, the document changes to the Planning Act and Municipal Government Act, just how we can provide some feedback and take part in that process. I know the province was talking about wanting to have that. So I know the details are kind of light right so far, but it'd be nice to, whenever we do have kind of more details, be nice to have a chat about it.
It is a great point, Councillor Jackson. So, Mr. McKeegan, have you heard from any of your provincial counterparts about any potential for consultation on it from communities?
Yeah, there was a
press release.
There was a press release to come out yesterday or today, yeah, that
It did say that
indicated
they're-
municipalities would be
Okay.
involved in changes to the Municipal Government Act, and
Great.
I'm not sure about the Planning Act. Was that included? I can't remember.
Right.
2 different ones, okay.
One's on the MGA and one's on the Plan Act.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our planner said that.
Good, great.
And we do have a request in to meet with Minister Myers as well, and we'd like to discuss this with him as well. So, yeah. Okay, any other comments or questions? Oh, no, we already voted on that, okay. Okay, thank you for your report, Counselor. I'm not really with it tonight, I'm sorry. The next committee, Deputy Mayor Gallant heads up the Infrastructure Committee. I'd ask him to give his report now.
Yep, thank you, Your Worship. Unapproved Infrastructure Committee minutes are in your package here just for January 16th, 2025. Infrastructure memo. This is the tender package for the Glen Stewart Drive multi-use paved trail. Will be advertised this week. This project has replaced the concrete sidewalk bottleneck around Glen Stewart Drive with a paved trail, and which will begin in July. Design work continues on both Aptos Sewer Lift Station decommissioning project and Reeves Estate water distribution replacement project. Tender packages for both will be complete by the end of the month. Be nice to get that done. Funding is required before these projects can be proceed to construction. Funding programs have been identified and applications will be submitted when intake is called. Staff remain involved in review and coordination with the consultants to keep these design projects moving forward. The sump pump redirection rebate program continues to grow with successful 35 properties registered for the program to date. We have 70 opportunities, and we're halfway there. This represents approximately half of our design goal, as there's still funding available. And we encourage all who have a sump pump connected to the sewer system to contact the town for more information on the progress. This program will run till the funds are depleted, so there's 35 opportunities there for residents to jump on there at $2,000 a pop there. So it's great to see that program moving forward. Infrastructure staff also have been busy with the following: providing input for the 2025-26 budget, reviewing and updating workplaces for the work plans for the 25-26 fiscal year, assisting when preparing and then submitting funding applications for summer staffing positions, preparing and submitting applications for active transportation funding and a climate resiliency grant to purchase a portable generator for the sewage lift stations, organize and update infrastructure, workplaces and storage areas, preparing annual reports for well field flow and sanitary sewer system performance for provincial and federal environment departments. All inside now are Christmas displays, and decorations have been dismantled and stored away. There are a few outdoor displays still in place, which will be removed in the coming weeks. Rink maintenance and flooding is ongoing. It's nice to see the two rinks up and going. Like I said earlier, and the recreation report, like this is probably our best year in 2 or 3 years, having the outdoor rinks and being well used by our residents and children and youth. Winter maintenance and grooming on the trails are ongoing. Snow clearing and salting the walkways, park lots are ongoing, along with servicing equipment as required. Painting and renovations are still underway at the town hall, and the water and sewer inspections, meter installations, and water turn-ons for new development are ongoing. There's ongoing inspections and maintenance of water and sewer systems and facilities, and managing ongoing customer and resident inquiries and concerns from staff to the front counter there. During the month of January, there was no sewer or water emergency, which is nice to see when the temperatures are going down to minus 25 or 20. There was one sewer backup in January, which resulted in minor backflow in the basement. No damage is reported by the homeowner, and there has been no request for compensation. So that's my report, Your Worship.
Well, thanks for your report.
Yeah.
Any comments or questions on the report? If not, we'll move to the resolution, Deputy
Yeah.
Mayor.
Now move the relation, okay. Resolution number INC 001-2025 supplement capital budget for miscellaneous capital items. Moved by myself, whereas the 2024 utility capital budget includes $25,000 for miscellaneous capital items used for such circumstances for installing service laterals to vacant lots, replacement of damaged or faulty utility infrastructure assets, and whereas to date, the fiscal year, the budget has been depleted with a new pump and flow meter required at Cable Heights Water Station, a chlorine pump at Pondside Water Station, a new service laterals required to a vacant property on Nightingale Drive, and whereas there are additional capital improvements required, including 3 services added in the Clearview subdivision and new exterior lights added to the front waterfront utility building, and whereas the miscellaneous capital items budget should provide funding for these new initiatives, but also available for any upcoming requires throughout the remainder of the budget year. Being resolved, the supplemental capital utility budget of $50,000 be approved to increase the miscellaneous capital items budget to $75,000. This resolution bears the recommendation of the Infrastructure Committee as conducted by email poll on February 6, 2025.
Thank you. Seconder?
I'll second.
Thank you.
Yep.
Some questions?
Yeah, any questions or comments on this resolution?
So I have
Counselor?
two, and they're sort of related. So I guess first question is, if this, you know, I mean, appreciate things happen. That's why we're looking to increase this miscellaneous budget.
Yeah.
What's the process if we go over on this?
Supplemental budget,
Just another supplemental budget,
if we have to.
if we have to? I guess, and so related question to that is this going to be enough, $75,000? Should we have more of a cushion, or can we have more of, I don't want to be irresponsible. I just want to make sure that, you know, things happen, things break, and we're talking about on the utility side especially. I don't want us to be caught unawares ever, I guess.
Exactly. I appreciate that. I think for now, since we're so close to the new budget year, this will be fine. You may or may not recall that last year we also increased this specific item to 75,000 with a supplemental capital resolution. So I am proposing that we increase this moving forward to 75,000 each year, and that should be a good buffer and hopefully prevent us having to supplement. So I guess in a roundabout way, I feel confident that the 75 for now will do, and like you say, it's hard to tell what's going to happen throughout the year. We need a placeholder, essentially, is what it is. Can we have it higher and have it sitting there and maybe not use it all? That's probably fine. We do have a lot of capital items that we carry contingent on funding and we don't use throughout the year. So it could be a discussion that we have tomorrow, I guess, when we look at our capital budget, but.
Okay.
So further to Councilor McDonald's point, we got a month and a half left. How much of this is paying for things that have already been done, and how much would be left for anything that comes up in March or what's left of February?
It should leave us about a $10,000 budget.
10,000 left?
Yes, that's right.
Okay,
As
so
leeway
that'll be enough
for-
to cover us till the end of the year?
Again, we have no
Yeah,
idea what may occur, but
Yeah,
we're
exactly,
hopeful.
yeah. And if something else does occur, we can have a supplemental budget resolution at that time.
That or whatever may occur, we could postpone the invoice to be processed until April, and it would fall
Okay,
out of the new
yeah,
year anyway.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you.
Sure.
Any other comments or questions?
I guess just a process question. Is this, Jeannie, or maybe for Kim, like, it's on that one budget line item that we have to approve so even if it could be found in some other area of the,
It's the one line item that we just call a miscellaneous capital.
okay.
We generally only carry those line items if it's specific to a project that we are aware and can identify. So this is kind of, like I say, a placeholder for any of these capital assets that we may need to replace or renew.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have a moved and seconded motion. Any other discussion or comments? If not, I'll call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Councillor Cox, are you there? I guess we'll count him as an abstention as well.
I guess he's
Okay, motion, oh, you're there. Oh, good. You're in favor?
Yeah, I said to everybody else, but I guess you didn't hear me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, anybody against? Motion carried. Okay, thanks for your report and your resolution, Councillor. All right, next one is Human Resources, and that's yours as well, Deputy Mayor.
We're just,
Oh, I'm sorry, let's kick over sustainability. I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of
Just on
myself.
we now
Committee of
have-
the Whole. Anything from Committee of the Whole that we need to discuss? Okay, if not, we'll go to sustainability. Councillor Chandler chairs that committee. I'll ask her to give her report.
Sure. We just met today for the first time. So it was just kind of an introductory, meet the new members, and of course, the committee is new to me. We talked a little bit about the potential community campus funding for the net zero feasibility study and microgrid energy project. Wendy provided some updates on the legacy anniversary book project. And we heard about the residential tree planting program, which is going to launch again this year with 50 spots available, $50 a tree. Applications will be open until March 31st. Forest management plan, the town has applied for funding to plant smaller trees as per the forest management plan. Community gardens registration is open for returning gardeners currently, and new registration will begin, or for potential new gardeners is open February 17th. Talked a little bit about transit, and I see there is some crossover in the committees. Thanks, Stratford updates. So we chatted about the business community and its interest in reviving a previous group or previous iterations, but looking to do some more engagement with the business community, especially as it grows, and or potential ways to attract new businesses. And that was kind of it for that.
And the meeting was at noon today, was it?
It was at noon today.
Sorry, I missed it. I didn't have it on my calendar for some reason. I would have been there. Anyway,
That's
sorry about that.
okay.
I'll be there next time. Yeah.
Yes, well, we'll see you next time. And it was the first one, and I didn't realize that you had that you were attending all the first meetings, or I would have.
No, that's
Check
fine.
in.
That's fine. Yeah, any comments or questions on the report? No, thanks very much for
Okay.
everything you're doing to keep us sustainable, both environmentally and business-wise. So that's great. I know there's lots of new businesses that are considering coming, and there's a lot of activity on that front. So I imagine you're going to be busy over the next year
I
or
think-
couple of years. Yeah.
Well, we'll see. I think there's definitely some great potential, and as we continue to grow and we look for ways to attract new businesses and retain them, and with the development of the community campus, then certainly a way to communicate regularly and be able to advocate the needs of the business community is important,
Yeah.
and make sure that we're servicing them. So,
Well, thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on to Human Resources, and that's Deputy Mayor Gallant heads up that committee.
Thank you, Worship. The workplace, respectful workplace policy is in your package there, so I'm just going to read the resolution. The Town of Stratford Resolution HR 001-2025, respectful workplace policy, led by myself. Whereas is a requirement on the Workmen's Compensation Board of PEI under Occupational Health and Safety Act that organizations have a harassment policy. And whereas it's desirable that the town has a harassment policy, respectful workplace policy in brackets. Be it resolved that the attached policy, policy number 2025 HR-01, respectful workplace policy, be hereby adopted. This resolution bears a recommendation of the Human Resources Committee at a meeting held on December 12, 2024.
Thank you. Seconder? Oh, thank you. Thank you, Councillor.
I'll second it.
Oh, you're going to second it, Gordy? Thank you. Or Councillor Cox, thank you. Oh, sorry, I think you got there. Okay. Yeah. No, thanks. Yeah, discussion. Any comments or questions or any discussion about this resolution?
I'll just say I'm in support of the proposed policy as drafted. I do appreciate all the discussions that we've had leading up to it, and it's great to see our newly commissioned Human Resources Officer come online and make an impact early with her contributions. So a very well-needed part of our organization and a sign that we're growing, and it's all very positive as far as I'm concerned.
Any other comments or questions?
Very quickly, Your Worship. Also speak in favor of the motion. It is great to see the town hopefully adopting a respectful workplace policy and an approval of it, given that over time, as this policy is exercised over the coming year or 2 years or whatever the time frame may be, any amendments and changes can be made by regular course of regular policy review. So it is new to us, so hopefully it'll work out well for us.
Yeah, and I just want to say thank you for that, Councillor. I just want to also say that I really appreciate all the input from all the council on this. I think it was a good discussion we had about this, and I think it led to a really good result. So thank you all for this. And as Councillor Dowling says, it is a living document. It will be, as we use it, you know, it will be amended if need be.
I just would like to add, I'm really pleased that we've advanced in this, and I think, like, you know, as a group, we talk about the growth of the community and where we're headed, but this document internally, like, this is a sign that we too value this particular topic, and that we too see the need to advance it to current practices, because we weren't there, I don't think. And it shows that we value the staff, And again, with the word retention, but we will attract and retain employees, which in the end saves us money when people are happy and all that sort of stuff, with a policy that, you know, outlines processes. So thanks for this document. It'll serve us well, and the staff.
Thanks for those comments. Any other comments or questions? All right, I'll call for the question. All those in favor? Anyone against?
Aye.
Thank you. Anyone against? Nobody against? Motion carried. All right. Did you have a comment, Councillor?
No, I made an error in not including the transit graph in my previous.
Do you want to go back to that?
Will that mess things up?
No, I don't think so. We can go back to that.
Okay. I do apologize, gang. It's new, I'm new to this and new to where it's at. We did receive the transit summary, and I did just want to point out, and people could make speculation, but the ridership is lower again this month, that we noticed. It's probably, yeah, the change in shift. No, and the overall graph shows like it's down 12.5% as compared to that this month, like January last year. So we'll continue to have discussions and monitor, and hopefully have more community engagement and speak with current or potential riders as to what may be changing in their usage habits.
Thank you. Okay, and the next item is yours as well, Intergovernmental Affairs and Accountability. That's chaired by Councillor Chandler. I'll ask her to give her report.
Yes. I'm all off track here. So we held our Intergovernmental Affairs and Accountability Committee meeting on January 23rd, and basically where it was the kind of transition, we went through procedural overall terms of reference, et cetera. We discussed the Housing Accelerator Fund, a little update from Jeremy Crosby, the revenue sharing update as well, just brief overview. The resident survey, we heard from Wendy Watts that there is a plan for the resident survey, the annual survey, to be launched in February, so this month. And certainly that's an important conversation with our residents. So I'd ask everyone to encourage folks to participate. Typically, I think Wendy said the results would be available by the summer. In regards to new business, we chatted about potential transit agreement, official plan, those community conversations. You've probably seen the promotion for that there are several different sessions being held on kind of some key pillars in the community. And we also discussed engagement statistics and how we're currently communicating with our residents, you know, in social media, et cetera. So yeah, the meeting kind of had a look at just current conversations in housing, revenue sharing, transit, and some other kind of consultations with government officials, et cetera. And I think that's kind of a summary. And again, I'm new to this committee, but looking forward to it. The transit piece in particular is interesting. I think we have a lot of room to work as we negotiate a new contract and make sure we get transit that meets the needs of our residents as best we can.
Yeah, I think this committee is very important in terms of, it's got the triple mandate of good relations with other orders of government and other stakeholders and partners, as well as engagement of our citizens in decision-making and helping them, making sure that we provide both two-way communication with them in terms of providing information, but also asking for their input on issues that we're dealing with. And as well, the accountability piece, making sure that we're transparent and accountable for how well we're doing with regard to achieving our goals and objectives through the Results Matter website. So those three things are very important to the good operation of any organization, but especially a town where we're responsible to the citizens for our performance and for the information that they need. Any other comments or questions about the report?
It's a quick comment, Your Worship. I look forward to seeing what we can come up with in relation to the new transit agreement, in particular, the intra-town travel component. I think, it's something that would be very useful now, and as we continue to grow and expand, even more so in the future. And it would be great if residents can pick up a smaller bus, whether it's on demand or by route, and travel within the community for their groceries or to get back and forth to work and that sort of thing without, as the report states, having to go an entire route into Charlottetown and back to Stratford again.
Yeah. And those discussions are ongoing, and hopefully we'll have something to announce at some point in the not-too-distant future. Any other comments or questions? No? Okay, thanks for your report, Councillor. We'll now move on to inquiries by members of council about anything about the town. Any inquiries? Anybody follow up on anything?
I had been approached by a couple of residents about our payment system for utilities. And I'm just, there's some, I guess some thoughts articulated that it's a somewhat cumbersome system. A number of steps and some confusion as to whether or not bills are actually being paid or not. Now, I'm wondering if there's been any discussions or anything brought directly towards our Department of Finance about people having issues paying bills or anything of that nature.
I've heard from a couple of people, but we do have, I think we're up to about 1,200 people that use the billing system. And if I do get a call, usually I try to call the person and walk them through. Sometimes it's a challenge just on their technical side too.
Okay.
But usually it's easier if I'm at the exact same place in the thing as the person on the phone.
Sure.
We really don't get too many complaints.
Okay.
But, yeah.
We're not getting too many then.
Yeah, the numbers are increasing each quarter, which is great. And then if I do hear from someone, then I'll go and try and make a payment myself online, and it has worked.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
All right.
And I brought it to the town's attention. I was a resident that was confused by my most recent utility bill. So I experienced that, and they did help me through it.
So you can call me.
Pardon me?
I am your counselor, so you can
Okay,
call me.
thank you. As it turns out, to be totally forthcoming, there was there is potential for more clarity in the way the information is communicated, with the last payment date not being listed where a typical utility bill might reference the date you paid. And in my instance, the amount that I last paid was not accurate. So it had perhaps combined 2 months of my payments into one payment, which made me think this isn't right, and made me wonder if it was being reflected on the bill. So there were some steps for sure. So they looked into that, and that's
Yeah.
Okay.
what
That
they did.
was on the printing of the bill.
Okay.
And it's to do with the service dates. The bill is from October to December, so that is the question
Yes.
from Councillor
Okay.
Chandler. That one did confuse us.
Yes, so maybe. I have another question, not in regards to that utility bill. It's in regards, and I've asked the question before, sometimes when I drive to work at 5 in the morning or 5:15 in the morning, the lights at the TransCanada Kinloch intersection are flashing. And I've noticed in recent times, one of the days, maybe it was last week, they actually did that ongoing to be a point that we had a report coming in, like a traffic report on it by 8 in the morning. It stayed that way. But I noticed that this happens on the regular, and I don't know if it is a technical situation, if it's a choice that it's happening, but it's flashing red in one direction, yellow in the other. And I do have concerns because not everyone adheres to that light. They don't observe it the same way, and we've had that chat. And I feel like, pardon me?
The red and yellow, is it?
Red at Kinloch, yellow on the highway, and many people presume yellow means go. So it's not interacted as a four-way stop for many, but sometimes it is. So if that was to continue to be a regular thing, there's a lot more volume of traffic on the roads at 5 in the morning than there once was. Like, I'm surprised by it. So just it potentially could be a safety thing. So I'd love for someone to look into it. Yeah, I brought it up before. And mostly it's the concern that I'm actually aware that people do not know the rules when it comes to that particular situation. So in the dark. And I also noticed all the lights that go from the bridge to the roundabout, or the majority of them, are not lit at that time of the day, where the other ones are. Those lights are out.
There are municipalities in PEI that don't have power some nights, so we're lucky.
Jody, Jackson, it's just a thing that I noticed. I don't know why they're not lit. They're the highway lights.
Cuba.
Okay, thank you.
Question on the waterfront boardwalk lights. They're turned off now. And what's happening now? I know we paid a bill down there. I know we're hopefully going to get stuck with another bill. Hopefully the contractor is going to fix that issue.
So the update is we have turned the breaker off to prevent the flashing and the questions. We have identified an issue with the lights themselves. So the supplier was over to do an investigation. We had over 20 that were returned under warranty and replaced, so that was a red flag to the manufacturer, and they sent the supplier over to investigate. So what they found was that moisture is getting into the fixture and causing an issue with the board, the processor, some of the components. So they are looking into some fixes for that, alternatively some replacement different lights. And they're going to wait until things get a little warmer, and they will kind of do a pilot program of replacing a couple, see how they function, do a repair to some of them and see how they function. We're going to have to give it time to go through the cycles of seasons to see how that moisture behaves throughout that. But we are on it. They are on it. They're supporting us. They definitely want to have these working properly. But in the meantime, we turn the breaker off, so they're not flickering and causing a lot of questions throughout the community.
No, thank you. Just anybody ask me a question, or people listening will hear
For
it.
sure.
Yeah,
We'll
so-
update as we know
Yep.
more, but it might be a little bit before they come back and start these. Has to be warmer to,
Yeah, that's what I figured was going on
Yeah.
with turning them out and
yeah,
looking at it in summertime when the weather gets warmer.
yes.
Yeah.
So we'll keep you updated.
No, they look great when they're on.
Yes.
Okay, any other inquiries by members of council? If not, we'll move on to the next item, which is other committees, Stratford Seniors Complex. Deputy Mayor Gallant, would you give your report?
Thank you, Your Worship. We had a meeting yesterday with our new Seniors Committee for 2025. It was 6 people there. We're missing 2, so we have a group of 8, which is great. And it was great discussions at our first meeting, great introductions and so on. Reviewing their spreadsheet based on building assessment report to help guide maintenance and capital projects that need to be completed over the next 5 to 7 years for staff to use. And we completed application forms to inform CMHC that we are interested in applying for the new funding program. We met with Alan Hughes of St. John House to discuss seniors housing and a new CMHC program. Met with infrastructure staff to discuss maintenance position at the seniors complex, and had been having some issues with some snow removal, and have been talking to contractors to get this problem rectified. And currently, right now, there's 29 people on the waiting list.
Thank you. Any comments or questions on the seniors report?
Your Worship, just Councillor Glant, just in relation to the CMHC program, are you referring to renewal of the contract for the current facility, or the possibility of funding for additional facilities?
We're talking about.
Just, we're looking at this facility, and I think the contract was longer. I think we're looking at, if the contracts are going to be made shorter now, they're going to be 5 years. So,
So it's a renewal of the, it's a new program, but it'd be basically to renew what we currently have, and the new program would just go till March 31st, 2028.
And I know I brought this up before, but it would be nice to be able to see, I know Director O'Connell's always beating the bushes for funding, and certainly if any became available, she'd be all over it. And I also mentioned, as others have, about the requirement for, as the province moves ahead, to attempt to meet the community demands, that Stratford not only be considered, but Stratford be provided with some public housing, provincially funded housing, whether it be senior specific or generally low income specific. You know, at one time there is a rationale for those facilities to be in larger centres, just from a service perspective. Stratford certainly of the size and scope now that we can make use of those facilities in the same manner. And I wouldn't want to see all of the provincial expenditures be centric to certain communities within the province to the detriment of Stratford. So, and I know our CAO and Director O'Connell are always working with the province and in discussion with the province in that regard. So hopefully we will see something as the province continues to add to their inventory, in which I expect they will.
Yeah, I think the funding that was announced yesterday in Cornwall, 86 million for the island for, you know, housing and that sort of thing. I think part of it would be for affordable housing. This definitely should qualify for affordable housing if we're able to. I mean, this facility we have, it only costs CMHC, other than the capital costs, it costs them about 52,000 a year or something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that, around 50,000 a year, to run, you know, to provide housing, low-income housing for 16 residents or 16 seniors. So that's a pretty good.
That's because the mortgage is almost fully paid, though. It would have been higher whenever we had more of a mortgage.
Okay, yeah,
principal
yeah.
interest
So it
payments,
would have
yeah.
been maybe
Yeah.
70,000 or something like that. But still, it's pretty good for a year of housing for low-income seniors. I think that's a pretty good deal. But if we're able to get a piece of that 86 million, I think that would be a great step forward. I'm not sure what we should be able to make a pretty good case for that,
That's correct,
I would
yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Because it's badly needed in the community, even if you just did it on a per capita basis. And as well with the province, as Councillor Dowling's point about the province, the fact that, you know, the province has manors and low-income housing for
Yeah.
seniors in many small communities, and we don't really have a provincial facility here for seniors, so it would be good to really look into that as well.
Yeah, and I think the CAO, he, like in the meeting with the provincial representatives just recently,
Yeah.
that was one of the points.
Yeah, I was
that
there, yeah, it
was
was
brought up as well.
discussed,
Yeah,
but it
yeah.
would be good to
Yeah,
sort of keep it front and center for us, yeah.
yeah.
Because, Your Worship, when we say 29 people on the waiting list, that's
26, I think. Is it 29?
29 in the report, but, you know, that's relative to the single, that's single facility. You know, if we had other facilities, the demand is certainly higher than the 29 that's reflective here.
Well, St. John House is also.
Oh, sorry, yeah, both
I think
facilities, I
the
should say.
total low-income housing that's available in the town is about 37 spots.
Yeah, and 29 people waiting.
Or
So
units, yeah.
if we had a dozen units, you know, I think we'd have much more people on the waiting list. It's not unlike the childcare facilities. The demand is far greater than our ability within the community to accommodate.
Yeah, that's right.
but I think we talked about earlier, Jeremy, I believe the MLAs, we were there, Steve, this week, talking about the location that we have
Yep.
the interest there that we can
Yep.
possibly do something with that or business, government business, or, you know, something like Access PEI or something, right? We're looking at that, there's a spot there, so, but yeah. Just to add to, all the great work that Kim does and Paulette and then the maintenance person there, Steve, and, but it's, we're putting a flyer, a memo together, and I'm going to do some door knocks and to encouraging people that don't have tenant insurance to get a tenant insurance. So, and then I guess we're looking at making a policy for our new people coming on to have
Yeah,
a
it's-
requirement to have tenant insurance.
Yeah, it is a requirement in our current lease.
Okay.
So we're just, but we
Okay,
don't-
so I'm just checking.
We don't actually, each year get paperwork
Yeah.
confirming that
Yeah.
their policy is.
Yeah. Well, the St. John's and the great work what Jeremy did at 4 in the morning, putting them over to the emergency service building, something that you just don't want to see anybody out in the cold and not be able to, you know, leave their room and go to the end of the hill or something like that. I saw my previous job, and it's nice to have that insurance, and it's very, very cheap. You know, it's so it's nice to just to notify people that don't have it to get it, and people that get it sort of say it's great to have, and so start from there. So
Doesn't cost too much either.
no, it doesn't
Pretty
cost them, but
reasonable,
there's a lot
yeah.
of people just don't know about it, right?
Yeah,
They think it is expensive.
yeah.
So anyway, that's my report.
Okay, thanks very much for your report, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Kim.
Okay, we'll move on to the item number 20, appointments to the committees. We've got a resolution. We've got a number of people that are being appointed to the Heritage and Culture Subcommittee. So I think we'll ask Councillor McDonald to, we also have one to the Diversity and Inclusion Subcommittee. So I'll ask Councillor Jeff McDonald to move the resolution.
Yes, very pleased to do so, Your Worship. As you noted, it's CW 004-2025, committee member appointments. It comes from Committee of the Whole. I'll move it as principally we are, I guess, incorporating or reincorporating the Heritage and Culture Subcommittee. Reads as follows. Whereas Council has established a number of standing committees and subcommittees in the Council procedural bylaw to advise and assist Council in its deliberations. And whereas the bylaw provides for the appointment of residents and stakeholders by Council to provide public input to Council in its deliberations. Be it resolved that the following residents be appointed for the remainder of a 2-year term ending on November the 30th, 2026 as follows. To the Diversity and Inclusion Subcommittee, Amaldeep Singh. And to the Heritage and Culture Subcommittee, Elaine Goody, Raymond Stewart, Tim Rose, Mike Gleason, Dan Larder, and Krista Nawat. And that is the resolution, and I'm certainly happy to move that one.
Okay, seconder? I don't know who got there for, I think Councillor Chandler got there, yeah. Okay, any discussion?
Just want to recognize the great efforts of Wendy Watts, our engagement leader here with the town, to get the Heritage and Culture Subcommittee staffed with our volunteers. Certainly took some work, and so certainly appreciated on her behalf for doing that.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Very important.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, no other comments or questions. I'll call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against? Motion carried. No proclamations. The only other business that I'd like to bring to the floor is this weekend, the under-18 curling national championships are being held in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, and we have 2 Stratford residents who will be competing in that, and one of them has a connection to our town, town staff, Sophie Gallant, and daughter of Wendy Watts, Ashlyn McDonald. So good luck to Ashlyn and Sophie. I hope they do well and enjoy their stay in Saskatoon. Thank you. Okay, any other business? If not, we'll call for a motion for adjournment.
I'll move.
Thank you. We're now adjourned. See you, Gordy. Thanks, Gordy.
Thanks, Gordy.
Hi, Gord. What's he doing? Conference or something? Like sustainability? What's he? Yeah. All right. See you all tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh, I can only stay till 1 o'clock tomorrow. I forgot to mention that.
Jody did a great job keeping us on target, yes. Last time.
Sometimes the bad weather coming.
I don't know.
Snow starting at noon, wind starting in the evening.
The bad weather starts at noon and
Be
the
a mess
wind
for the
starts in the
rinks.
evening.